One of the reasons why everything is getting so much more expensive isn't even inflation related. And now you're like, what? And one of the things that I don't see being talked a lot is actually fraud. So insurance fraud has been taken up ever since after COVID. So businesses reported a 70% increase in fraudulent related issues, right? And the US estimates the cost of fraud being around $308 billion annually. What results into $1,000 per American. So you're paying $1,000 in fraud related instances, insurance cases, and I am too. And it's actually quite pissing me off because when I'm thinking about it, and I remember my time in Florida where, where all these hurricanes, all these storms came in. There has been multiple occasions where somebody, a roofing company, came to my house in Florida, knocking on the door saying, "Hey, there's some tiles cracked on the roof. Do you want us to give you a new roof?" And we were like, "What are you talking about?" And then they were like, "Well, yeah, we put on a new roof. There's no deductible. It says it on the paperwork, but you don't need to pay the deductible. And we'll take care of everything, and we'll take it up with your insurance company, and we'll put you on a new roof, and it doesn't cost you anything." And it's like, oh, what is going on? And so my parents never really did that, but there were multiple instances where that happened. And why I'm doing this video today is because I've seen now on other social media platforms that there are so many people crying about their over overpaid car in COVID, right? And so when you're looking at where are these instances, they're Florida, New York, right? And what do you do when you want to go trade in your car? So there has been people with Honda Accords and Nissan Sentras, real shitty cars that are 15, $20,000 in negative equity. And people have been, calling the dealers, and they record these conversations and put them online and saying, "Hey, what do I do? You can get me out." And there's nothing they can do to get you out besides you actually keeping the car or doing something sketchy like lighting it on fire or going on Facebook Marketplace and actually, you know, selling it for $2,000 key in hand, no title, and then report it stolen and do something sketchy. And I've seen a lot of places like that on Facebook Marketplace where you can get a Hellcat, for $5,000 and it says key in hand, no title. And some of these people are the owners that just can't take care of the payment. Then they claim it on insurance, right? And say it got stolen. They make a police report, they'll file fraud because they cannot get out of the negative equity, right? Out of their situation. And so I feel like when we talk about insurance, it's like, insurance is $1 billion industry. We don't need to worry about it. They have the money, but everybody's thinking like that. And all of a sudden you're seeing Florida, has $5,000 home premiums, right? And car insurance is so expensive too. And then you're looking at, when these cars get flooded in Florida, that's also increases the cost of everybody, right? Because they need to level it out, right? It's, everybody pays into the pot and they're not going to take a hit on their salary or on their benefits. So it's going to be distributed among the consumers that are paying, right? So if you're living in a place in Florida that doesn't experience flooding all the time, then you're actually not in luck because you're not getting a new car every few years. And if your car gets flooded out every few years, you basically get a new car every few years paid for by insurance, right? And so this has to be changed. And now with AI, they're saying that, oh, we're working on, developing artificial intelligence to claim these, to do these fraud claims. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it is costing us immensely. And so when I look at the whole economy as, as as a working, as a working class, and like how to contribute, these fraudulent cases in the billions isn't great for Americans, right? And police isn't going to do much because when they're going to come, it's like, oh, this is an insurance matter, and then they just move on because they have better things to do. So nobody's really responsible besides insurance companies just, doing their own thing and being like, oh, we got to pay. And then instead of them actually, when you do have something wrong, they're not going to be like, we're going to help you out. No, they're going to hire lawyers, try to not pay, because that's just, the name of the game, right? And it is just sad for all these other Americans that are, doing the right thing and doing the right, and never filed a claim, and have to be like, oh my gosh, they're hiring lawyers against me now. And some people are so good at it, they hire lawyers, they do the right thing. And, with fraud cases, right, they're like, oh, these are the steps you need to take. But when you're not used to it, or you've never been in a situation, it's really hard for you to, come up with it. And so it is costing us all so much money. And everything is up. Everything is up. It's keep going up and up and up and up and up. And people are being let go, right? Let more people are getting fired every day. And I don't think we're at the end of it yet, right? And so a contributing factor is these fraud cases, right? Because insurance goes up, and then you're like, oh my gosh, my insurance is so expensive. And that's why I think at one point, these houses in Florida are not going to be worth 5, 6, 7, 800,000, because you cannot afford insurance on. So either you pay in cash and not worry about it, or then you're going to have to get insurance, what is 5, 10, 15, 20,000, because insurance is so expensive that you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do to every few years, because they don't want to pay for a new house every few years because it floods out. And the one problem is that these storms, these weather patterns are not getting any lighter. It's not like we're going to be like, oh, it's not taking, it's going to get lighter, this was the heaviest storm, next year's going to be a better year. No, every year that I've known, it's gotten worse. Even in Las Vegas, the temperature has never been this hot. And people that lived here for 20 years even said the same thing. It's getting more extreme, and like it or not, call it what you want, but these are contributing factors, right? And now we just got to figure out, how can we put ourselves in a position where we benefit from it without hurting others, right? Without causing other people to spend more or cost them more money, right? Because if you and I also start doing that, it's like, my Pulsar that I drove here, I bought it in 2020, and I was like, I don't like it anymore. So let me just light it on fire, or let me just, have somebody take it away, and then I file a police report. That is affecting everybody, right? And I try to really, really be um, cautious when it comes to other people's finances, because other people do not have it in them to come up with the extra money to pay for it. And at one point, it is going to be that they don't have the money. And one crazy, even crazier thing is that in Florida, when I was living down there, I've had like a Geico insurance person, when you go to the office and you have your independent agent. And I asked him, why am I paying more for uninsured motorists than I am paying for, insurance, like for property damage, liabilities, and all that kind of stuff. And he was like, well, 2 out of 3 accidents or something crazy is with uninsured motorists. And I was like, well, isn't it against the law to not have insurance? Yeah, but people can't afford it. So they don't get it. And then, and police isn't really, they can't really go about it and kind of monitor it and do it. And so I was like, hold on, I need to get insurance for people that don't have insurance, but it's illegal. It's like the whole system is corrupted. And I know it's so expensive for people to to get insurance, right? And then you got to pick, how much deductibles you want, how much you want to pay, and all that kind of other stuff. But yeah, I'm just like fed up with it. I'm like, this is just absolutely insane. We're milking Americans dry. We are basically making it so expensive to live that you need to start making $200,000 a year and still live paycheck to paycheck. And when you look at Dave Ramsey, he gets people all day, every day, talking about, hey, I'm making 140,000 and I'm heavily in debt, and I can't, pay for my bills. And this is what comes to what is the new reality, because people just don't have the money. And now we see all these people got laid off, 10%, 15%. by, by Intel and, 10% of Microsoft and all these numbers. And now you're like, where is this going to end? Where is this going to result into? And people in my comment sections constantly been saying, oh, this how it was before COVID. They've overhired, and that's what happened. But I don't think that is really the case when you say, oh, this is overhired, because people needed jobs, and just because the supply line wasn't there and people were like spending money, I don't really think that was the case where people were going to go out and say, hey, you need to you need to get more people to do things. There's a critical mass of people that you need to get a product to market, to do things. And I feel like in COVID, we tried out, giving more people jobs, and the economy was booming, firing all cylinders. But then afterwards, we raised interest rate, you know, and investors were like, yeah, you know what I can do? I can actually pull my money out and put it somewhere secure where it grows steadily. And I don't have an issue with dealing with the company, with products, with liabilities and all that. I just put my money in a CD somewhere else, and I just don't have to worry about it. And I kind of agree with all these people that said, it's it's easier for them to just put the money in a CD than actually investing it in a company, because if the stock market is going to turn, then you're going to have probably a bigger than 4% or 5% loss, right? So what do you do? What do you do? So one thing you can do is to get ahead of all that is getting a job. And I hate to keep tooting the same horn, but that's the only way how I see you kind of doing this. And there's been statistics out there that said, that if you start a business during a downturn market, most of these high-end, most of these high companies, Facebook and all these other ones, have been started during downturn markets. And I get that, but when capital isn't available, then it is not easy for you to start that, because when you look at the layofftracker.com and you can see who's being let go, it's all these tech startups. And so it is shaky grounds for these startups to get another round of funding, because why would you take a gamble for 5 to 10 years and keep pumping more money into it till the IPO, till you get your money back, when you can just put your money somewhere really safe for 4.5 to 5%, right? And then you're like, if it was your money, what would you do? Would you gamble it on a company? Would you gamble in the stock market, or just put it in a safe CD and just let it be? And I personally would just put it in a CD, because it's just so much more secure than, investing it in a company right now. Because when you invest it in a company and, you buy in at $800 million valuation, and then these companies can't secure another round of funding, then your money's gone. Then all of the money's gone. Then you have to, as an investor, have to pony up more money. And that's exactly what happened to me, where we bought into a hemp company, and I was like 4% owner, and I've bought in for tens of thousands of dollars, almost in the six figures, into it. And we were going to be supposed to be profitable by the end of this year, but the regulations, they couldn't keep up, and they were just like, hey, the FDA is holding the hemp thing, they haven't moved on it, they haven't done much with it, but we're supposed to produce hemp at a medical grade thing. And so the company that I've invested in said, we're closing doors, and we do not want to we can't get another round of funding, so we are done. And this is really, really bad news for a bunch of other companies. And guess what? That company that I've bought into has had I think 10, 15 employees. And these people now have been let go, right? And this company hasn't been to the critical mass where they had to file a report and close down, right? So now you're looking at it like, okay, or not that I know of, right? And I don't know if it was considered a tech company or what it was. So I have not seen that they were gonna, if they close down or not. But this is going to similar businesses, right? Businesses like that are always hard to do. Pays out huge when it does, but Most of the times, it just doesn't. And when you're looking at wineries in California, also the same thing, also down. And I don't know how much it has to do with fraud, but when everything rises, insurance premium rise, you know, your house goes up, property tax rises, employees want more money, right? And then you want to push that on to consumers, but consumers are tapped out and can't buy. You cannot have more, higher car insurance premium, higher housing premium, homeowners insurance premiums, higher salaries and all these other things while you're trying to sell your product for 15, 20 bucks to a consumer, and the consumer says, I can't pay for that. I'm tapped out. And so there's so many different factors onto the consumer right now, that what are you gonna pay? Are you not gonna pay, your insurance? Are you not gonna pay your, for groceries? Are you not gonna pay for gas? There's some stuff that you need to do, like paying for gas is a must, right? Paying for groceries is a must. You gotta eat, but theft among grocery stores is also up. Walked into Burlington the other day, and they had this thing where you basically they unzip and they zip you back. They let you in with the little, I guess they have at the airport TSA. They're like, okay, come in, come out, because theft is so much on the rise because people are tapped out. And when people are tapped out, they say, hey, let me get the unethical way. Let me do it the unethical way and get it, right? So how much more and this is a question for you, how much more can a consumer actually take? Because when you're looking at highest credit card debt, highest fraud cases for insurance, that results into high insurance premiums, right? And then you see that Citizen Insurance, the one that's backed by the state, is asking the state legislator to improve them for even higher premiums, right? So it's constantly an upwards trend. Credit card debt, upwards trend. Utilities are in an upwards trend. And then we have, instead of having, companies where they're saying, hey, we're hiring, why don't you come to us and we'll give you a 10% raise? They're saying we're firing people. So everything is going up like this while the job market is going down like this. And at one point it meets the X line where it's going to be like super, super bad, right? And people been like, oh, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So if you're retired and you're just doing, you're living off of Social Security and you're living off of investments, great. You probably aren't going to see anything like that. But for all these other people, millennials, Gen Zs, it is detrimental. And you're looking at these boomers that can't retire because it is so expensive. So yeah, it is crazy, crazy times. The good thing is that there's always opportunities in the downturn market. I haven't seen them yet, but I will sure let you know. And now, the realtors are being squeezed on their commission, right? So tomorrow is going to be interesting because that's the first day, I think August 17th, when the lawsuit's going to take effect for it. So actually, it's going to be today because I recorded a video ahead of time. So yeah, absolutely brutal. So every industry is shaken up, is going to be into a new way of doing things. So if you haven't, please follow me on LinkedIn, connect, like and subscribe to this channel if you like this content. I post videos every day. Got to do my walks. I'm out in Las Vegas. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys. I love the comments, what you guys are saying. So I really, really appreciate you guys. And I will see you in the next one.